Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Thursday, December 27th, 2018. Sorry for the confusion. I'll kind of stall a little bit here as we were on a previous link. Something happened to the link and was not allowing us to go live. So we just simply created a new event. So we'll give it some time for everyone to kind of switch on over here. Again, welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Taking a look at space weather conditions right now, the solar wind speeds are sitting at 389.1, and just to be on, let's go ahead and refresh that. It's dropped just a little bit, 384.1 kilometers per second with a density of 10.5. Zero sunspots. Once again, we are now sitting at 217 days for 2018 without a sunspot. That's 60% of the year without sunspots. 2018 really jumped up in numbers. If we take a look back to 2006, which would be comparable to 2017, you'll see that we had 34 more spotless days in that point in the cycle. And then looking at 2007, where we had 152 days without sunspots, looking at 2018, which is 11 years after, we're up, say what, 60, 65 spotless days. So up on both years, and I think that's a lot of the reason why there's so many people who really believe that we are heading into the grand solar minimum now. Now I know we have taken a place on this channel. We agree in a lot of ways that some of the paperwork that we're seeing suggests that we'll see our grand minimum start in the 2030s. But I understand why there's so much concern about it starting now, because we're not even at the minimum yet. 2019 late starts that. And really, the acceleration of drop in solar activity from the last minimum to this one is, in my mind, is startling as well. So keep an eye on that TCI. It's dropped just slightly. We're at 33 billion watts even right now. And taking a look at the KP indices, up a little bit. We're up at a 3, so not quite storm conditions, but we are experiencing an increase of the KP indices. And taking a look now at our SDO, and we are not looking at anything major, but where they are pointing out the coronal hole here on the SDO, we are expecting solar wind flowing from this coronal hole to reach the Earth by December 28th and the 29th. So this will be a lasting event for a little while. And we'll take a look at the SDO in motion. And the area that I was watching last night over here in the eastern limb so far has not been named a spot, and does look like to have some decay. And actually, guys, wow. So as this active region went Earth facing, and let me get my arrow out here, this bad boy just vanished. This was the area that I was talking about last night. And as we get onto the eastern limb, this sunspot simply just fizzles out, guys. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with the magnetic connection with the Earth and the Sun at this point. So as it turns towards Earth, it's weak. Therefore, any activity, this is part of the reason why we're not seeing sunspots. So right now, that was the one spot that I had thought, and by the way, KPF4 here on SpaceWeatherLive.com. So we'll get that from time to time. But that right there, that was the one region that I was watching that I thought that possibly could actually be that sunspot that breaks us up for the year. Now, there is a very bright spot still behind us on the eastern limb, but that's several days away. That spot right near the 180 mark, honestly, we probably won't see that if it does hold together. We probably won't see that active region for another 10 days or so. So that won't happen in 2018. So as of right now, it is looking very likely that we will end up with at least 220 or more spotless days in 2018, unless we get a sudden flare-up on the sun as far as sunspot activity. But once again, you guys can see it. It just fizzles out as it comes around the corner. So we will watch another sunspot region that's forming more or less in this region up here, but still far away from the eastern limb. But as this started making its way towards Earth, or facing that region anyway, it completely fizzles out. So there you go. That's why we watch this stuff. Last night I could have swore that was going to be a sunspot. Shows you what I know, huh? I'll just stick to reporting and leave the predictions to others. Moving right along into our TSI reading. Mari, did you do this for me? Thank you. I appreciate that.
I did, G.
As of December 18th, we've seen a little bit of an increase. We're up to 1360.69, still staying beneath that threshold of that 0.7 region, but our TSI did slightly rise. All right. So we have increased volcanic activity, to say the least. Explosive extrusive eruption at SPACEWEATHER Volcano in Russia. A strong gas stream activity accompanied by ash emission continues at SPACEWEATHER Volcano in Russia. The aviation code does remain at orange. Gas stream with ash plume is currently drifting northeast of the volcano at 2:30 UTC time. Volcanic ash was observed rising to about 16.5 thousand feet above sea level. The ash plume is drifting about 43 miles northwest of the volcano. Here are some of the pictures of the eruption and the plasma discharge within as we see the lightning in the ash plumes. Ash explosions up to 26 to 49,000 feet could occur at any time. The observatory is warning right now, adding that the ongoing activity could affect international and low-flying aircraft. A thermal anomaly was identified in the satellite images during December 7th and December 8th, and as well on the 11th through the 13th of December. A small explosion on December 12th generated an ash plume that rose only 21,000 to 22,000 feet. With this recent activity as of right now at the volcano, they are concerned for a much larger eruption. 49,000 feet would be significant. We can get sunlight blocking at 45,000 feet if it's a long-term event. So we'll keep our eyes on this over here in Russia. And just to kind of follow up with Krakatoa, volcano alert level is raised to 3 out of 4. More tsunamis are possible. The danger zone was extended from 1.2 miles to 3.1 miles, prohibiting any activity within the new danger zone. Air Traffic Control Agency AirNav Indonesia said it was closing flight routes because the volcanic ash of Krakatoa was spewing meant the situation was on red alert. An AirNav operations manager told the BBC that between 20 and 25 flights were affected, including some international flights to and from Australia, Singapore, and the Middle East. He said the disruption was likely to be minimal, although passengers may experience longer journeys and aircraft may need more fuel because of the diversions. Taking a look at some Twitter information here, pictures of dust on vehicles. Deadly tsunami was produced around 21:30 on December 22nd. It was likely caused by a west-southwest slope flank collapse, authorities said. According to preliminary reports by the country's disaster management agency, at least 373 people have been killed, 1,459 were injured, and over 128 are still missing after the tsunami hit villages located around Sunda Strait. 11,000 people have been displaced, at least 611 homes have been damaged, 69 hotels damaged as well, severely damaged, as well as around 60 small commercial units and 450 boats and ships. It says right here, according to the Darwin VAAC advisory issued at 0:25 UTC December 23rd, satellite imagery suggested a high-level eruption with ash rising to 55,000 feet above sea level. This was on the 24th. Sorry, the 23rd. Once again, I want to appreciate the Watchers.news for what they do and what they bring to this. They get a lot of personal input as well, too, on this. Quoting an individual here, a photographer. Since I have come to the conclusion during the afternoon of the 22nd of December, I witnessed the most intense eruptive activity I have observed at Krakatoa. I've been following the eruption cycle since it started in June of 2018. When weather conditions allowed it and was operational, he was there daily. And he says he's visited Krakatoa twice in 2018, but also observed it 3 times erupting from the coast of Java, last time being in November. Guys, if you want, click on the link here if you want to follow him on Twitter. And he has a personal write-up of the events of this eruption. I checked on it. I need to translate the page. I'm sure you will as well. We'll leave a link in the description. And really, I'm not going to go over this article too much. This volcano is basically a fart in the wind compared to what's going on at Krakatoa and the Russian volcano as well. We're talking about ash plume as high as, I think they said something around 6 point. Hold on, let's not guess. Let's not guess. Oh goodness. Oh, right about 650 feet. Nothing to talk about, but they did raise an alert level to 2. Moderate level of unrest. The public is reminded that sudden explosions, lava collapses, and pyroclastic density currents, or PDCs, and ashfall can still occur in threatened areas in the upper to middle slopes of the Mayan. 3.7 miles permanent danger zone, and the precautionary is the 4.3 radius. Extended danger zone, or EDZ, in the south-southwest to the east-northeast sector, stretching from Analong, Kamalig to Sta Misericordia. Okay, sorry about butchering your provinces' names out there. So there was a little bit of an alert raised here for the Mayan, but compared to the other 2 volcanoes, like I said, this one was literally just a fart in the wind. Take a look at some domestic weather now. And we are talking about Winter Storm Eboni continues to impact the plains and the upper Midwest. And we talked about this a little bit last night. Let's take a look at our national radar. The area of focus right now for me is in that sector that they were calling for the blizzard warning last night in the northeastern parts of South Dakota, right in here in this corner. And as you guys can see, this is the peak, in my opinion, of this current storm. As you can see, the moisture rotating almost in a perfect circle here. So this has been constant snowfall for several hours, as the way the motion of this radar is indicating right now. We have still several hours of heavy snow to still fall in that region. And meanwhile, we take a look as the rain is now heading towards the east. Dayton, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, you're now getting inundated with heavy rain right now in the central Buckeye State, Toledo area as well, Defiance, and northeast Ohio as well is starting to pick up on shower activity. Kentucky, Tennessee, and of course the deep south with heavy rain. But we'll get into that here in a minute. Let's talk about the blizzard, the snow, and everything that's happening right now with Winter Storm Eboni. Continues to bring wind-driven snow to the plains and upper Midwest, creating localized blizzard conditions in parts of those regions. Eboni will also spread snow and ice across portions of upstate New York, New England by Friday morning. Just to add a note on that weather for the Northeast, that's just going to be a nuisance for tomorrow morning, because the temperatures are expected to arrive in the mid-40s by afternoon. So this will be icy conditions tonight into tomorrow morning, but by early morning this will melt. Happening right now, and this was according about an hour or so ago when I found this article, snow accompanied by gusty winds is currently spreading from the central and northern plains into western and northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and the upper peninsula of Michigan near Interlachen and Traverse City. Interstate 80 westbound was closed in Nebraska between Kearney and North Platte Thursday afternoon, while Interstate 80 eastbound had to close from North Platte to Lexington, Nebraska, due to treacherous road conditions caused by Eboni. You see a semi-jackknife in the median Nearly all flights in and out of Fargo Airport were canceled Thursday due to blizzard conditions in the eastern North Dakota city. Blizzard conditions were also observed Thursday morning in western Kansas, straining motorists near Scott City and Leoti. Power outages reported around Garden City, Kansas as well. Interstate 70 was forced to close in Kansas late Thursday morning between Colby, Wakini. The highway closed between Goodland and Hayes as well in Kansas. And I can tell you, these were the areas that I was talking about last night. Goodland, Hayes, Wakini, and Colby. These are very farm town areas here, okay? So a lot of these roads are dirt or gravel roads. They're not going to get plowed. So this is not a surprise to see this particular area shut down from this system that came through today. And that was, like I said, we kind of talked about that last night. So this was expected that we would see this kind of conditions in Kansas. In southwestern and central Nebraska, whiteout conditions were reported Thursday morning near Culberson and Arcadia. More storm reports can be found at the bottom of this article. As we see, the current radio as is 7:15. I mean, I just showed you what's happening right now. Wind gusts at that time were still the 35, 25 mile an hour range. So as that, my observations will have to say that due to this, oh, come on, don't do this to me now. All right, here we go. That area of rotation that we were looking at a minute ago has to be the area where we're seeing most likely the gusty winds of 35, 25 miles per hour in this region only. They seem to have died down out here. Storm has lost energy in this region right here, and it's just kind of spinning out over South Dakota right now. Get back to the report. National Weather Service has issued various winter storm warnings and winter weather advisory from the plains of the upper Midwest. We talked about this last night, going into areas like upstate New York, Connecticut, New Hampshire, other areas in New England as well. Now, if you notice, there is a line along the coast where temperatures are just going to be too warm for any kind of snow accumulation whatsoever. Like I said, it's borderline here in the Northeast. Right now, we're going to see some freezing precipitation overnight into tomorrow morning, but that will melt up here because we see all that rain that's coming. That's also bringing up Gulf moisture and also a little bit of Gulf warmth as well. But for Friday, expect light snow and gusty winds may linger in the upper Midwest and northern Great Lakes. Portions of the New England and northeastern New York could see a snow or a rain, snow, sleet, freezing rain persist through Friday. Areas farther to the south, such as Albany, New York, Hartford, Connecticut, and Worcester, Massachusetts, may experience slick travel conditions Friday morning before the precipitation changes all the way to rain. Snow, sleet, or freezing rain will persist, and the longest, though, in the northern New England part of the area. Now, less than 6 inches of additional snow is expected in a swath from northeastern Nebraska to South Dakota, southeast Dakota. Okay, so they give us all the areas. This is through Friday. So from now and until tomorrow morning, we will see an additional 6 inches of snow in the northeast part of South Dakota that we were just indicating on the map. Looking at snow accumulations here in the Northeast, again, like predicted last night, anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of snow in most of the upstate New York and most of New England. But you get further into northern Maine, northwest Maine, you're looking at a possibility of a localized area of getting a foot at least. So, what does this all mean? Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these totals. Arizona, the 7 inches they got in Eager, 12 inches in North Star Resort, 11 inches in, I think that's Placerville in Colorado, 4.5 inches near Chubbuck, 4 inches in Pocatello in Idaho. Kansas had 9.5 in Hoxie. Blizzard conditions Thursday morning in western Kansas. So anywhere from Norton, Kansas, Goodland, Kansas, Hayes, Wakini, Colby. Those are rural farm areas in that area. They got hit pretty hard as well. Blizzard conditions Thursday morning. That means inch an hour, and I think gusting winds over 40 miles per hour. I think, and I could be wrong on that. Montana, 5.5 inches in Circle. Nebraska, 8.5 inches in Greenlee, and other areas also saw blizzard conditions in southwestern Nebraska, just above Kansas. 18 inches of snow at Wild Horse, Nevada, but that was also at elevation 6,239 feet. New Mexico got 10 inches, 11 inches in North Dakota, and George Lake also 7.5 inches in West Fargo, 7.2 inches in Bismarck. Blizzard conditions also experienced in the eastern part of North Dakota this afternoon. Oregon had 8 inches in Cornucopia, 11.5 inches in South Dakota. Similar conditions that they had in North Dakota with blizzard conditions as well. So we had a blizzard today in Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, and North Dakota. Also blizzard conditions in Minnesota. Busy day for the domestic part of the world, and this storm is continuing to move on to the east-northeast as we speak. I'll give a little bit more an outlook to this when we take a look at the GFS tracker here at the end. And I want to kind of get in a couple articles. Here is the part of the show where I like to give a little bit of commentary to some of the websites and articles that we find from time to time. One of my favorite websites, What's Up With That, along with Climate Depot. Those are probably two of my favorite websites. But I found a couple articles tonight that I wanted to kind of share with all of you tonight. Climate alarmism defined. New York Times editorial board claims that Trump imperils the planet. We are experiencing, and I don't mean to do this, but I'm going to have to, but we are experiencing a severe attack right now from the deception of the mainstream media. The New York Times, the Washington Post, other trash rags like it across the country continue to attack this president and essentially make things up about him. Today I saw an article that was came from what was the website, like a Vanity Fair article, and basically twisted Donald Trump's tweet today about how he was pointing out that the majority of the people that are not receiving a paycheck right now are Democrats, so shouldn't they hurry up and come to a compromise so they can get paid? Well, the Vanity Fair article twisted the words and said the majority of people that are being affected by this government shutdown are Dems, so screw them. That's not what Trump said. But anyway, back to this article. This is just more proof that this guy takes more abuse on a daily basis than any president or any politician I've ever seen. And I don't care if you like him or don't like him. That's not what we're here for. But I just really wish this guy is being blamed for the climate on this planet right now. That's how far this is going. This is beyond Al Gore crazy. This is Donald Trump, his rollbacks of the Obama administration EPA regulations is harming our planet. And I showed you guys a video from Fox with Mark Morano and this guy, Brad Johnson. This is a chart, okay? Let me move it up a little bit so you can see the year. All right. Does everybody see what I'm seeing right here? Okay, the blue is the United States, and the red is the rest of the world. Okay? Everybody got this? Now, pay close attention to this section right here. That looks like a slight decline if you ask me. Same thing if we go back to the last minimum, 2008, 2009. A little bit of a spike, and then we plummeted a little bit, a little weak little increase, another weak increase, and then we continue to decline. Clearly, this chart shows that we have risen the man-made emissions from 1960, and I'd say the peak was right around 2007. No doubt. You can't deny that line. It's going up, inclining. But now we see things starting to take a turn. And throw in the fact that the United States cut back emissions 2.7% less. Okay? Nobody else right now in the world is reporting any good news about this Paris climate treaty. Nobody. Nobody is hitting their goals. Nobody's hitting their targets. Nobody's even close to reducing carbon emissions. And here we are, United States pulls out, thankfully, pulls out. Not even doing what the Paris Treaty wants us to do, and we're still the lowest in emissions, man-made emissions in the world. I just don't understand where this is all Trump's fault, where Trump is like, here's the proof right here at the bottom of this article that proves the rest of the world is responsible for CO2 emissions, man-made. If you want to believe in that theory that that's what's warming the planet and trapping heat, okay, so how is it Trump's fault? By rolling back regional Environmental Protection Agency regulations. We're only one country over here. One country. And his reductions in regulations has still pulled in a 2.7% drop in man-made carbon. How do you do it? But people like the New York Times and the Washington Post will continue to beat that lying drum, how us pulling out of Mr. Obama's clever climate regulations and everything else that has to do with the Paris Treaty, we're being told that because of this man's actions right here, that we're putting the planet at risk. And also want to point out that it's not just us anymore. It is Saudi Arabia, Russia, Kuwait, and the other country always slips my mind, and I apologize for that. Or maybe that's all of them, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Russia. Those are other countries that are, and Yemen. Those are other countries that are considering as well of pulling out of this treaty. So last year, it was just us. This year, there's 4 more countries. Now, I know there's close to 200 that signed this thing, but the trend is growing. And by 2020, in my opinion, we could see more than 40% of this treaty. Pretty much 40% of the people that signed it want to pull out of it once they realize that this is just a money grab. That's it. It's a money grab. It's a little bit of bonus cash for governments to line their pockets with. And then when they get the bill, when they were expecting money out of this little piggy bank, well, that's because the United States was going to fund this piggy bank, this slush fund for the world that was going to get paid for not meeting their climate goals, their emission goals. Now that the United States isn't in there to pay that, well, who's going to pick up that $100 billion tab? When everybody's looking, it's like, ain't gonna be mine. I ain't got the money. Now, and a lot of these, like Iran, they want to pull out too, but it has nothing to do with climate. They just wanted it because they're mad their payment hasn't came in yet for their climate participation. That's what they were pissed off about. Link will be in the description. You guys check out the article for yourself. But here's the proof, guys. This historical CO2, this was the United States and the rest of the world. I'm trying to figure out where this graph came from. Meanwhile, U.S. emissions down. Case selective. I don't know. I'll have to do some more research where they got these numbers from. But according to this chart here, we are looking at the lowest output of man-made emissions. And I believe that. I believe that. When they shut down all these coal plants and started up natural gas, like Trump's doing right now, that's why he's down 2.7% in carbon. Yes, there are some coal plants that are firing back up, but also when you're dealing with natural gas as well, you're helping yourself rely on coal and that kind of carbon emission. So lots of factors to look at here. The reasons why the United States is leading the world is because the technology that we're applying towards our natural resources. The smokestacks that scrub the emissions now, that are trying their carbon captures. All kinds of stuff out there that we're doing. I think that, and I'm tired of hearing that it's our fault. It's our fault. We're putting the planet in this position. No, we're leading. By accordance to this graph right here, we are leading by example of how emissions should be handled and how much to release. And obviously, we're not doing half the damage. If there is any damage being done, we're not doing it. So stop blaming us. Stop blaming our president for him actually making a smart decision to save American taxpayers trillions of dollars over the next 20 to 30 years. Who knows how much this would have cost the taxpayers. Who knows? And when I show you guys that chart here, and then we talk about 2018. Now, according to Al Gore and his buddies, man-made global climate change is supposed to bring, catastrophe and stronger storms and more severe weather and bigger tornadoes and blah, 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 right? Well, in a whirlwind that is 2018, there's been a notable lack of high-end twisters. We're now days away from this becoming the first year in the modern era record with no violent tornadoes touching down in the United States. Violent tornadoes are the strongest on a 0 to 5 scale. Those that are ranked EF4 or EF5. Those are violent tornadoes. We did have at least 2 E3s this year that I can remember. Other than that, where are all the tornadoes? And I heard people on Weather Channel talking about this all season long as well. The lack of severe weather, the lack of severe. Now, what we've seen this year is lots of flooding. Again, this is where I believe the science of the grand solar minimum period, match up with what's going on right now. Why are we seeing so much flooding? Because we're getting a lot of rain. Why are we getting a lot of rain? Because we have a lot more particulates in the atmosphere. Why do we have more particulates in the atmosphere? We have a weak magnetosphere that's allowing particulates from outer space, the sun mainly as well, into our atmosphere, galactic cosmic rays. They make particulates in our atmosphere more ready to form droplets, snowflakes. And when you have an abundance of cosmic rays in the atmosphere, you're talking about making these particulates super magnets. So if there is water vapor in the atmosphere, it's being sucked up by these almost magnetic-like cosmic rays that make these particulates almost ready to just become super drops. I hope that makes a little sense for you guys. But I always thought that cosmic rays was the reason why there was so much precipitation, but it is to a point. What the cosmic rays do to particulates is really just energizes them. High charged particles basically make the particulates in the atmosphere like magnets to suck up any kind of vapor and form a drop. But that's why I think we've seen so much flooding. Also, when you have a colder upper atmosphere, colder atmosphere overall, you don't have that instability that's needed for tornadoes. So I think that's another factor that we're seeing that no one's talking about. And it's showing up behind the scenes instead of people just coming out and saying, we don't have any major tornadoes because we're experiencing cooling. No, the science is speaking for itself right now. And that's what articles like this do, is they want to point these things out to you folks. Because people like Al Gore and others, Bill Nye, who want you to believe that man-made global warming is going to create more dangerous tornadoes, more dangerous hurricanes, okay, more drought, more wildfires. We've already proved that California has less wildfires now than they did back in the 30s. And that's back when man-made emissions weren't even at record levels. None of that's happening. None of these claims that Al Gore made, the AGW, everybody that's telling you that we are responsible for our climate, none of that's happening. It's not an all water event up at the North Pole. Plenty of ice up there. Plenty of ice in Antarctica. But like I said, this is an article that shows you between the lines. And the science speaks for itself, guys. We don't need some washed up schmuck telling us that it's global cooling out there. We just report the news and the science. Claim that Tesla owners are being harassed by ICE drivers. No, not the people that are picking up illegal immigrants. This ICE is short for internal combustion engine vehicle drivers, basically. Bullying Tesla owners by parking their ICE vehicles in Tesla charging station bays. One Tesla owner writes, first there was rolling coal, Now there's icing. As electric motors encroach on internal combustion engines, some truck owners are getting angry, and Teslas are a favorite target. Now Michael continues, and I'm pretty sure this is how he sounds. One of the most recent incidences at a North Carolina convenience store called Sheetz. Reddit user Lasenia posted her account of several pickup trucks pulling in to block all Tesla supercharging station spots. I have never had a supercharging experience like this one, she wrote. These trucks blocked all the chargers and chanted F Tesla and were kicked out by Sheetz employee. Really? And Anthony Watts, or wait, who wrote this? Eric Worrell asked the same question that I asked after reading this. Is icing Teslas actually a thing? Are these drivers actually harassing these electric car owners? I find it a little abrasive, actually. I know lots of truck owners, and they're not assholes or bullies. I find this just another reason to paint people who drive vehicles that use gasoline and oil as villains, and try to lump us into that group of bad people that were really awful people because we burn fossil fuels. Just another random article I thought I'd share with you guys for a laugh, that there's actually people out there who really believe they're getting bullied and harassed because they own a Tesla. Now, I guess if you have these Elon Musk haters out there, and I won't mention any names because there's one guy out there who really hates Mr. Musk. But now, I imagine if they actually clone the guy that hates Mr. Musk as much as he does, I could see that happening. But thankfully, there's only one of him, and I'm pretty sure he's not leading a militia of a bunch of truck drivers who are blocking all the Tesla charging bays. Just sounds a little ridiculous, just saying. Taking a look, this is just funny, all right? I wanted to share this really quick. Boy calls 911 to gripe about getting snow pants for Christmas. Now, guys, the funny part about this is that he lives in Ontario. And I guess it's ironic that this kid's going to need these pants. But anyway, a Christmas gift meant to keep a 7-year-old Ontario boy warm and apparently left him cold. But the way he responded was very naughty. He called 911 to report his cruel parents. Ontario Provincial Police Sergeant Kerry Schmidt told CTV News the unidentified boy made the call on Christmas Day because he was upset with his gift and wanted police to help. Smith says officers determined the call was not an emergency and no one was dispatched to the child's house. However, he definitely thinks the child should be definitely put on the naughty list based on his tweet that he sent shortly after the call. This sergeant, anyway, thinks the kid should be on the naughty list. Schmidt told that even a seemingly innocent call like that can affect efforts of first responders, since a non-urgent incidents and fake emergency calls take up time and resources that could be used on real emergencies. Nothing funny about doing that. Just the ironic part that this child seemed upset and surprised that he received snow pants in Ontario, Canada. So, I don't know, but crazy. Hope nobody's kids call the police on you for your gifts this year. All right, so let's go through the end of the program here where I'd like to show you guys some totals on the ice in the Antarctic. We are looking at the Arctic, 12.277 million square kilometers of ice. Now, we started 2018 at 12.324, so we are nearly at the same starting point from 2018 that we're going to end up for 2019. However, we still have 4 days left of the year. Anything can happen, and it's a good chance that we could be slightly above this number as well, as I suspect this stratospheric warming event that's to happen in the Arctic should be sometime after the 1st of January. Still watching that situation close. Here's a look at the sea ice extent as of December 26, 2018. As you guys can see, we are almost to that orange line in all areas of the Arctic as we speak. And I think let's go to the GFS. All right, so here we are taking a look. We got that super monster storm Eboni across the United States. Let me scoot this up so we can see it. All right, so let's move through Friday. This is going to be a rain event mainly for the Northeast. The far Northeast will see snow, but like I said, it's going to bring warm temperatures to the north. Look at this heavy rain. Parts of Alabama, Georgia, actually not really Georgia, the northwestern part, maybe see some action of this later. Tennessee, Manchester, Tennessee, Deckard, Winchester, Clarksville, Nashville, Murfreesboro, Knoxville, Northeast Tennessee, Kentucky. You guys are going to see some heavy rain tomorrow. It could be as much as 2 to 3 inches of rain that falls from this particular storm as we speak right now. Now that weakens a bit as it moves through the east, but parts of central Tennessee and southeastern Kentucky, I will suspect, will see the majority of this heavy rainfall on Friday into Saturday. This storm moves off into the Atlantic by Saturday evening. There's not much happening behind us except for the northwest. You guys are busy, just like this pattern has been there for a few weeks now of nonstop rain and snow in the higher elevations. On Sunday, December 30th, we see a little bit of a system trying to get its act together, and it will look like on New Year's Eve, combined with another low pressure coming out of the Gulf and almost exactly the same areas that saw the heavy rain this week. We'll see it once again. Now, this storm, still far away out, New Year's Day, cold enough for snow in the areas that we're seeing snow today as well. Almost a repeat storm for the areas of Nebraska, Colorado, South Dakota, North Dakota. This storm is almost going to move on the exact same path. Let's hope it's not as strong as it is now. Guys, if I'm looking at Tuesday right now, this storm looks just like it's going to look like on Saturday as it's moving out. So anyway, next week we might have an identical storm to deal with that we're dealing with right now. But after the first of the year is when I told you guys I thought that we were going to see a lot more colder air. Well, here it is. January 2nd, light snow in the northeast, more rain trying to develop across the south. Pretty quiet in the northwest, and that's because there's a high pressure system that's just kind of chilling and camping out here in the northwest before it finally gets moving by Friday, January 4th. Now, right now, the GFS and the European models are not agreeing on particulars of temperatures past January 4th. And the reason why I say that is because we have indications from the Euro model that are showing this polar vortex temperature should be taking effect by then. Now the GFS right now, this is what they think after the 6th of January is when that cold air will invade the northeast and possibly bring a significant snowstorm to the northeast. Also 3 days after that, we're looking at another significant snowstorm moving across the Ohio Valley and the northeastern part of the United States as this cold blast appears to be here to stay for the first 2 to 3 weeks of January and could bring round after round of snow showers to the Ohio Valley into the northeast. So things are about to get a little bit interesting here after the first of the year. And like I said, the GFS and the Euro models, temperature-wise, as we take a look, and I'll show you exactly where I think the discrepancy is, which is right where we get about right here. This right here on the 4th of January is, but again, we're on the borderline of freezing at this point, so it's not off by much. January 4th into 5th, this is where the GFS and Euro models are different. Euro models are about 5 to 8 degrees cooler in the northeast and the Midwest. Now, as we watch here on the GFS, I think the GFS is overdoing those mild temperatures in the Midwest, Ohio, and the northeast. But look, by January 8th, we start to see that really cold Arctic air starting to flow into the northeast. And it doesn't stop with just that. We go into the 9th, into the 10th, and into, look at that. So by January 11th, we could see our first indications of this polar vortex disruption on our doorstep. But temperatures are going to be well below freezing in most parts of the country after the 5th, 6th, and 7th of January, according to the GFS. Now, the Euro models suggests a little bit different. And they think this polar vortex is going to affect temperatures in the northeast. This doesn't go out past January 4th. So this model shows slightly warmer temps on January 4th compared to the GFS. But right here is where a lot of people think that this polar vortex will begin to make its disruption. And I think it's possible to see the deep freeze here for the next 2 to 3 weeks in January, in the middle of the first week of January and beyond. So we'll keep our eyes on that. But I just wanted to point that out tonight as well. Here is the snow totals through January 6th. Again, not a lot of depth out there. The areas that we're seeing right now that are getting the blizzard-like conditions, I think those numbers are actually a little low as well. I think there were some areas reporting 15 inches of snow across the northern plains. But for the most part, going into the first of the year, the majority of the country should expect to see some sort of snow coverage. And I've also noticed in the northeast, those purples are starting to show up a little bit more than they were just a couple days ago. So winter is coming, folks. I know I've gotten some comments. People are saying it's been mild this winter. It's been off and on. There's parts of the country where it's been mild. There's parts of the country where it's been very cold. But for the most part, we haven't really had too much anything crazy to talk about, except for across the plains right now. They've had 2 major winter storms, and that's kind of normal for winter for that part of the country. So again, nothing too crazy happening just yet, but things are starting to look a little bit interesting as we look into the future. Taking a look at our El Nino 3-4 region, not really changing, not really going up or down, just staying at 0.530 above baseline. Again, guys, this is at the very low spectrum of the threshold of El Nino. And as you go to what's up with that, if you go all the way to the bottom of their webpage, they show us a neat little scale, little thing here that tells us when we're in the El Nino, when we're not. Not too far away from a neutral. That's still not out of the possibility, guys. The peak was very weak of this El Nino season and very short-lived. So it's possible things, and I read an article from NOAA where they believe that the reason why this El Nino is not kicked in yet is because the atmosphere is not cooperating with the conditions in the oceans. Who knew? Anyway, moving right along. Let's see, we got here. All right, I showed you guys ice, all that good jazz. Taking a look at, I always like to do this. I do this to tease other people out there who like to tell me that the Arctic is melting, that there is no sea ice anymore. Let's go inside the truck. Oh, we don't want to hear anybody like that. Say hello to some of the people out here. Rob, how's it going? Mork, how you doing? Joe Wilson, Josh Corner just got in here. E.T., how you doing? Sully's Girl 89, I see you in the comment section a lot. Grizzlies, thank you for the super chat. Is it possibly true that the next summer will probably be our last normal summer? Probably, because I thought we had a pretty warm summer this year.
I don't know. I was telling people in the chat, I thought it was a little weird. Like, it just, the season seemed blended together. It was very, very wet, very flooded. Absolute nightmare when it came to flooding.
In parts of the country, you're right. And that kept temperatures down.
I want to say we had maybe 2 weeks of excruciating heat, which was abnormal. And the rest of it was like weird cold nights. Like you couldn't really enjoy, like you'd have to be in hoodies and jeans. Weird.
Well, and I tell you, 2017 summer in Buffalo was the most ridiculous summer I ever experienced, wearing hoodies on the 4th of July in Buffalo, New York. I know it's a little bit cooler because the Lake Erie is their natural air conditioner. I get that, but my goodness. All right, so Mario, would you like to say hello to everybody in the chat? And I don't know what happened to our...
well, you just have to,
Let's go look at something pretty here.
I don't even know where to start. The chat's been rather interesting. Everyone, as the channel grows, we have more people watching us. We're more prone to troll attacks. Just ignore them. I'll do my job. Our mods will do their job, and we'll just block them to keep it peaceful. We have a really great community here, and we just ask for people to keep it, positive, respectable, be patient with one another. Everyone is on a different path of learning. This is a learning channel, so that's all I can ask. We try to be very diplomatic and fair, but I've been on YouTube long enough to see bullshit a mile away, and there are people that just pop in with groups of people together to stir up drama and stuff. Just ignore them. You're going to see it often. This is the last time I'll even mention it on this channel. Just trust us. We'll just delete them. I'd like to thank Per Strandberg for stopping in. He was discussing in the chat earlier, there was a notable anniversary. On this day, 110 years ago, a strong earthquake happened in the Strait of Messina, not far from Etna, the deadliest European earthquake of the 20th century. Estimated victims between 70,000 and 200,000 people. He just looked it up because he knew that earthquake, and he saw that it was December 28th in 1908. So I thought that was interesting. I'm sorry I cut you off.
That's fine. That's fine.
About that. And then Grizzly sent some super chats, a couple, and he's awesome. Thank you. He bought another Red Bull for Starman. So Starman, trust me, you're gonna get something here. And then we were just talking about that. I don't have a whole lot. I'm losing my voice. I have successfully caught whatever Jake had, and now I'm battling it. Right, Jake?
Yep.
So
sorry about that.
Go ahead and you can take over.
Hello to Paula as well. I saw you earlier in the chat. Concerned Canadian. I've seen you in our comments section before. It's nice to see you out here tonight. I'll add one thing to what Mari was talking about when people come in to disrupt. I didn't see anything. I don't ever really look at the chat until the end of the show. But guys, all they're doing when you see someone coming in trying to spew hate or negative or disinformation, this is our chance to shine by just not even acknowledging the whatever nonsense that you're seeing in chat. It happens. I'd say I've gone to a lot of live streams watching channels that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and I think really there's just people out there who are just genuinely bored and just want to get some kind of attention off of a big channel and whatnot. And I think a lot of that's what it has to do with. Plus you have your global warming Al Gore freaks out there who are just nuts about Al Gore and will do anything to protect his good name. So again, just don't feed into it and everything will be all right, guys. We've learned that if you put any energy or any kind of effort towards it to fight it, other than just ignoring them and blocking them, they'll just keep coming back. So anyway, that's going to do it for us tonight, guys. So thank you for tuning in once again, guys. We will be back live. Are we going to try to do another broadcast tomorrow, or maybe Saturday or Sunday? We will tentatively schedule a show for tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 10 p.m. tomorrow night with another Grand Solar Minimum News update. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Please like, subscribe, and share. Check out our links in our description. We have links to buy t-shirts, coffee mugs, anything that's GSM related that you would like to have. We might just have it in our shop. Also, check out Patreon. We'd like to get more followers over there. We're going to start more homesteading videos and more educational about prepping and survival skills. Really, that's what we need the most when we're talking about when the real effects from the Grand Solar Minimum start kicking in. Right now is nothing. This is not even the tip of the iceberg. So, all right, that's going to do it for us again tonight, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk soon. Take care, guys.